Tiger Talk is brought to you by Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Katie's delicious homemade goodness and Perry's Floors and More. And good morning and welcome to Tiger Talk at 8:04 on this Tuesday, July 10th. Have the pleasure of welcoming you to WPKY, Mr. Roy Gene Rogers. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ty.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
The hay hauling going well, isn't it?
Going well.
Yep.
Yep.
And you're wet. You looks like you're weathered these temperatures just fine.
I'm doing okay.
Good deal.
Drank a lot of water.
Yes, sir. Well, glad to have you here and taking your time. I know you stay busy with all the stuff you got going on. But one of the things that you've got going on, and I know back during the May primary, you and Brock Thomas got together and put together a political forum for our primary for the judge executive candidates on the Democratic side. Now you've put together another forum coming up for this for the general election that will be coming up this fall.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Yep. You're absolutely correct. Brock and I got together, and we got a called Your Voice, Your Vote, and we have a candidates forum coming up on August the 7th. It'll be in the circuit court room at Caldwell County Courthouse. Starts at 6:45, and this one is for the candidates seeking the office of 4th District, the senatorial district, and the representative district.
Okay.
Yes. It's not. I mean, if
it's not a full-fledged big
no,
with a bunch of
this is
candidates.
just for those four, and you know, if the Democrat Party, Republican Party, Chamber of Commerce, if someone doesn't have one for the candidates for magistrate and for judge executive, then we'll step in and have one. We sure will. That's important.
Yeah, it certainly is. But this is just, and I didn't know that till you just told me. This is just for our representative and senatorial candidates.
The candidates, of course, Dorsey Ridley is now the representing the 4th senatorial district. He's been challenged by Robbie Mills.
Right.
Robbie lives over in Henderson as well. He is a state representative, represents the 11th district, and he's challenging Dorsey. Lynn Beckler is now the present state representative for the 4th district, and he's being challenged by Abigail Barnes. Abigail is a lawyer down in Livingston County. Yes.
Right. Well, that'll be interesting and a really good for them because these folks somebody will be in our state houses.
That's
and it's very important, especially with all the things going on in Frankfort, to have good representation up there. And so this should interest, I would think, many people
if you're
in our area.
There are so many things going on. Of course, you and I were discussing the pension bill. I mean, that was thrown out by a judge up in Franklin County. Not all of it. And the Bevins administration is sued to have him rule on all of the aspects that Andy Beshear sued for.
He basically said some of that was unconstitutional, correct?
Well, the meeting, the way it was handled was probably unconstitutional, but you go back, I think they said there's been 70-some-odd bills that have been pushed through the legislature over the last 20 years like that. So,
I point blank to ask them. They say, it happens all the time, they say.
But it's important. I mean, you got the city with their hand out, the county with a hand out, school system with their hand out, roads needing repaired. So how are we going to come up with the money? And this is an opportunity we're doing it the same format as we did for judge executive. They'll have first of all, let me say that they're sending in a profile sheet, bio, kind of give you an idea of who they are and what they've been doing over the last few years, and that will be available for the general public to pick up. And then we didn't want to spend a lot of time on the pension bill or the pension reform because there's so much to cover. So Brock and I have asked them to also submit written response to what got us to this point, what they think might be feasible to work out to make sure that we're solvent in the future. I mean, it's easy to say, yes, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to solve that pension. No, it's not that easy.
No.
We're deep in debt, and a lot of them are not funded. Some of them at 14%. Teachers' retirement, I think we're up to 60-something, but it's not that easy. So we asked them to give us that written reply, which will also be available to the public that night.
Well, that'll be interesting, and I think you could spend the entire however long you have up there on that on just the pension bill.
Pension, yes.
So that's probably good that you at least eliminated that right off the top, at least to respond.
One of the other questions, they've received 2 questions. They'll have 3 minutes to answer each one of them. 3 minutes to open, and 3 minutes for closing. Big issue that is circulating through the state of Kentucky right now is the legalization of marijuana, medical marijuana. A lot of advocates for that, but there are also people that say, well, no, that leads into something else. So that is one of their questions. What do you foresee as the future of medical marijuana here in the state of Kentucky?
We are talking medical marijuana, not industrial hemp.
Right.
There are 2 different things there.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes. The industrial hemp looks good. Been in touch with the Secretary of Agriculture, state of Kentucky, on that, and industrial hemp.
Of course, Mitch McConnell has introduced that up in the Senate bill, in the Farm Bill.
We're looking good on that. So hopefully that will be a boost for the state of Kentucky.
But we're talking here medical marijuana. Yeah.
Yes. Now, also in that question, they're asked to, you look at it from 2 standpoints. One, what is your personal view? And then the other is, what is your political view? I mean, if you're a representative, you're going to represent the people, supposed to. And you may be in favor of medical marijuana personally, but from a political standpoint, what are your police officers, what are others saying about it? And we ask them to make a distinction between that.
Okay.
The other question that they've received is the 641 bypass.
Yes.
We asked that question to the members, or those that were running for judge executive, and that is an issue that has been going on for 20 years. So it's got to be resolved before too long, and that's something that we are asking them to talk about.
And this will be August 5th.
August 7th.
August 7th, and that is a Tuesday night. August
starts
7th.
At 6:45. Abigail, being an attorney, she is, we gave her plenty of time to make it here and to where she wouldn't have to rush.
Yes. And that is, during a work week, a work night, people say, well, I can't, but 6:45, at least locally, will allow people locally to get here, and it should be adequate enough for Abigail to get here and do that. And just seems like Tuesday night's a pretty good night to do something like that.
People need to get out and come talk to them. Just introduce yourself, because I like to know who's running. I like to know who's in office, so that if I can call them, talk to them, and that's what people need to do. You need to come out and introduce yourself to these candidates and let them know.
And most are very responsive to their potential constituents who would be out there. And that will be held where?
In the circuit court room at the courthouse.
So it will be in the circuit at the courthouse.
Right.
And explain where the circuit court room is.
It's upstairs.
Yes.
So if it's also handicap accessible through the elevator there, we will make sure that you and Times leader are well versed on what needs to be done as far as handicap accessible and people coming in. But we still are leaving it open. Got another week. If someone has a question, that they would like to ask these candidates, please forward that to me or Brock through social media, or somehow get it you. They can drop it by here or send you a text or an email, and we can get it from you. But
will there be a moderator for this?
Yeah, it will be just like the judge executive. They will read the question. The first candidate reads the question, and then they proceed. We'll have a timekeeper, and not a lot of interruptions from someone being a moderator. It just goes right.
And there'll be a time at the end to talk with these folks and maybe get clarification, and because there won't be any interaction necessarily from those listening.
Right, and that's the reason we ask them to write down their views on the pension crisis, so that people can read that, and then after they can talk to them about what they've written down.
Okay. Good deal. Again, Tuesday, August the 7th, and that's going to be in the Circuit Court Room in downtown Princeton.
6:45.
6:45.
And again, if someone doesn't step up, some organization, I haven't heard of one. I've heard rumors of those taking place, but if there is not a candidates forum for judge executive or for the magistrates, then Brock and I will still step up and do that as well.
Okay. All right, yeah, because there's some important issues. Big election coming up this fall in November. People need to be informed.
Right.
And so, well, good deal. Thank you all for doing this. That'll be interesting, and it'll be good to see. Now, this is August 7th, again, 6:45. That's a Tuesday night at Circuit Court Room, but this is just going to be for the offices of the state that affect this area.
State senator,
and state representative in the 4th District and 4th Senatorial District. So, all right. Well, that's great. Now, let's shift gears at 8:15 here. We'll shift gears, and let's talk about another hat you wear here in town, and that's with the Princeton Optimist Club. And we're just we're not too far out from Black Patch.
We're 2 months.
Yeah.
And things are coming together. It's always hectic, that last 4 or 5 weeks there trying to get everything together. We have sent out, I think Brooksy sent out 110, 115 applications to those that have had booths in the past. We are getting some of those back, but let me encourage those here in town that normally set up a booth. Please get that back in. You can pick them up. I don't know whether we'd up to any here or not.
No, but you're welcome to.
And Julie Key down at City Hall, George Kilgore, he's in town a lot more than I am, so you can pick them up, so.
And really the earlier the better, probably, just so you all can plan. And
last year we had to plan around the
electrical issue, yes.
And so this year that was resolved, and Randy Jordan took care of all that for us. So, we're back to maybe normal, I guess. But last year was great. I was down where the games were at, setting up that end of the street. Brooksy and Dave and Zeke and, all the rest of them were, George, all of them were up there at the other end setting up. And, it was just great.
Yeah.
And the games this year, the gentleman is bringing back those that were most popular. And he also, every year, he tries to bring at least 1 or 2 different rides.
Yeah,
different. And Dunks Tires will be there with his car smash again. And so we're just looking, but I got to emphasize, please get those applications in, especially those food booths.
Right.
Because we are limited on those. And if you want to set up something for food, please try to get those back into us.
I think one of the neatest, not that we used to have art in the park, but now the Lower Main aspect of the Princeton Art Guild. Now that was a big hit, and I know they're organizing right now to get and boy, it filled up and really was a nice thing last year.
I like I said, I was down on the stoplight end. Down where H&R Ministries at now, and I was working with the rides, working with everything on that end, because we do have a lot of electricity
Right.
to work with down there.
And a lot of spatial aspects that you have to really work out. Yeah.
Safety issues
Yes.
there. So, and then I looked up and I saw all those tents, and I thought, man, this is great.
Yeah.
And so it was. We've got some other activities. I think Justin Reynolds, is he?
I think so. I think he's going to be back and solid as a rock. Good show.
The square dance people are back. The gospel singing, I know Wes has been working on that. He starts working on that
pretty much immediately when you get done. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the parade is scheduled for September the 7th.
Yep.
And all you got to do, George can talk about that later on. I think we'll have an announcement in the next week or so about the grand marshals.
Mm-hmm.
And but the parade, mainly you just show up and we'll put you in line.
You get lined up and ready to roll. Well, I heard a lot of really good things about, of course, Black Patch Heritage Festival, as it's called now, as Black Patch. It's been going on for years. I mean, and you've been involved in it. The Optimist Club has done this for years, but heard a lot of good things about last year's Black Patch and how it was organized, how it was set up, some of the different things that were going on. It was nice that the street was opened up there on the west side of the courthouse, and how you kind of had that Princeton section.
Right,
I think
we will be doing that again this year.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we're looking at the yard sale and section being back and the Princeton section being back and all of that. And, last year to me was one of the best we've had in years.
Yeah, it wasn't so, I guess, divided. It was more kind of like an open kind of thing, and just had a good feel to it. And then the street was packed. And like you said, you saw all the tents.
And there's a 5K run or
someone is, that's good. I'm training for that, by the way.
Yes, all right. Okay. but it's in the makes, and I know we've been in contact, George, talking to the individual that or the group that's organizing that. So
there's more to come about that then.
Yes, there is.
Well, it sounds like plans are underway, but if you are out there listening and you plan on participating, especially having a booth and wanting to, you need to get in touch with one of us at the Princeton Optimist Club, because
we'll be leaving some of those applications out here. It's handy for somebody to just
if they come pop in. So we'll have some here, but it is important if you are planning and wanting to be a part of it to get those in, so that the Optimist Club can plan on how to maybe arrange and put you and get you in a prime spot.
That was the good thing about last year. We had a lot of applications turned in early, and we were able to make those booth assignments, and it just helps us, instead of somebody waiting to the last week or some organization saying, I forgot about it, and waiting to the last week. And then you have to kind of scramble to put them in a place that might accommodate. But we're getting a lot of applications from the Dawson Springs area.
Okay.
People selling books, doing things like that. So I mean, I'm looking forward to. I hope the weather last year was great.
Boy, it was incredible.
And,
I think did we have a slight little shower early, but then it was, maybe that's the year before, but it was cool.
It was cool.
It was nice and cool last year. I don't know if this is going to pan out this way for this summer or not. We're off to a pretty warm start.
But, I mean, everything was just fell in place last year.
It did,
so.
They're different every year, and it's a different thing.
The night I joined the Optimist Club, I was appointed to be the co-chairman of the Black Patch. So that tells you I've been there.
Been in it a long time.
We have never been rained out. We've been rained on.
Yeah, that's right.
Never rained out.
Yeah, no,
so
that's right.
Hopefully, this year we'll continue that.
Well, it's a pretty good time of year in West Kentucky, and it's always just a fun day, and it's a homecoming, really.
Yes, I mean it is. That's what it started out to be, and of course, you've heard the story. Dorsey Ridley, his parents met here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And at Black Patch, and we go back to the 1940s, and then had to halt because of the World
War.
War II, and then I believe it was the Civitan Club picked it up, and then they disbanded. And when they did, the Optimist
Club stepped right in and
Right.
picked it up, and that's, it's neat to go back and look at the history aspect of it because there are old pamphlets and flyers
Oh, yes.
and books put together about Black Patch, and it is part of our heritage. It's
It
part
is.
of who
I
we
mean,
are.
You don't realize, a lot of people don't realize, but the Duke University
Yes,
is part of the
Black Patch, no doubt about it.
And the parade used to be the biggest thing other than the Kentucky State Fair. We had 18 counties that were represented, and so it's something that we need to keep alive. I know used to be the tobacco festival, and tobacco was the
Well, I mean,
mainstay.
I was just going to say, I remember the days when, boy, it was all about the tobacco,
Yep.
and that was, but this area of Western Kentucky still produces a
Oh,
lot
yeah,
of
dark
dark
fire
fire
tobacco,
tobacco, and that's
Murray
just
as well,
yeah, and then people,
and that's we are working on our books. We're selling ads to help offset the costs that we encounter for the bands and for the other activities that we sponsor. Jason Lindsay will be here.
oh yeah, the science guy.
Right, and of course the 4-H FFA petting show or zoo, whatever
yeah.
you want to call it. I mean, James Allen Boone's taking care of that again this year. So, activities. If you've got something you want to
And you're open to it. The
yeah.
club's open to it.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean,
we never had this, or
right. We try to coordinate the activities to make sure there's not 3 5K runs going on that one day. So, that's our main goal, is try to coordinate activities to make sure.
not have replication
Right.
and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break. It's we're about halfway through it. We've got a few more things to talk about. We'll take a break here on Tiger Talk. It's a Tuesday edition, and Roy Jean Rogers here. We're talking political forum. We're talking Princeton Optimist Club, Black Patch, and a score of other things. So stick around for that. We'll be back after these messages on Tiger Talk on WPKY The Tiger. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz is the place to shop for delicious homemade goodness. Hancock's makes their own fresh chicken salad, pimento cheese, salads, and a variety of mouth-watering desserts, sure to please your entire family. While at Hancock's, be sure to visit their meat department for the best selection of USDA choice meats in the area. Hancock's Neighborhood Market in Cadiz, hometown, homemade goodness, and the Hancock name you know and trust for quality for your family. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz.
Since 1978, Perry's Floors and More has been selling, installing, and servicing homeowners throughout Western Kentucky with quality flooring and workmanship. Perry's Floors and More carries luxury vinyl plank and luxury vinyl tile, carpet, window treatments, and more. Quality brands like Mannington, Shaw, Tarkett, Beaulieu, and Flexitech. There's a reason why we say you can walk on our reputation. Come see Bill and Lucy at 127 West Market Street or call 270-365-9869.
All right, we are back on Tiger Talk at 8:27, and we're talking at the break about different things. So where do you want to go now?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
Well,
I'm open.
You're open to it. Well, let's talk a little bit. We've touched on, of course, the Black Patch. We've touched on our political forum. You talk politics quite a bit. We had some big news last night on federally, where we've got a Supreme Court nomination by President Trump, a gentleman by the name of Kavanaugh, highly educated professor, been in the Washington area in the lower court up there, but seems like a pretty incredible, mind. And what do you think about his selection?
Well,
for that?
I am 100% behind that appointment. And, what I don't understand is we look at Roe versus Wade is what people look at. And actually, there was another court case that was more decisive than that one. But people are afraid that if the court is packed with conservatives, that Roe versus Wade might be overturned. Well, you and I both know that when the Constitution was written, our framers of the Constitution did not give the Supreme Court the right of judicial review. Right. And they gave it to themselves through Marbury versus Madison. Now, they're supposed to interpret laws, just like I go back to the gentleman up in Franklin County, the judge there. You're supposed to interpret a law, whether it is constitutional or unconstitutional. And you're not supposed to make legislation. The courts are not supposed to be making laws. Let's just put it that way. And that happened. And I'm sorry, but the last 8 years, because of gridlock in the legislature under President Obama or under Congress, he had to go through the courts to get a lot of things done. And President Trump is the same way. But, a person should be judged on their merit, on what they have done, instead of just basing it on a political view. It's not supposed to be political. So let's give the man a chance. Let's give him a hearing and see what he has to say.
It'd be interesting to see. And, of course, everybody's eyes were on the news last night. Probably for the first time in many years, we have Supreme Court nominations that have come and gone. President Obama, I think, had, I don't know how many he did. Two, maybe, yeah. George second, George Bush had one, at least. That's John Roberts, I think, was his appointment. But it's interesting because, people were I went through all the cable news channels last night, and you hear different things on different ones, and it's kind of interesting to hear the twist and the takes. But I heard one of them saying the arguments was, this will shift the court. Well, Judge Kennedy, who's coming off, is a conservative. So if this Kavanaugh guy is considered a conservative, probably, but he's also considered a strict constitutionalist.
Yes.
And but does it really shift the court that much from Kennedy if this guy gets nominated?
Kennedy, to me, he was the swing vote.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one that. And to me, he was a good Supreme Court justice. He looked at things from, I think, a constitutional aspect. And, to me, this doesn't shift the court. Mm-hmm. This is more about President Trump, I think, than it is about the nomination. And somehow, some way, we're going to have to start putting things behind us, political views, and turn back to what's best.
Just get to work.
Nation. Yeah. I mean, tell me, I see where senators, Democrat and Republicans, are all out fundraising. Why aren't they up there trying to resolve the veterans affairs? Why aren't they up there trying to resolve the immigration crisis that's down there on the border? I mean, reunite those families if that's what's necessary. Why are they all out fundraising and not doing their job? If you was to go out and start fundraising or running during the morning show here, you wouldn't have a job very long.
No, that's right, and then I think we've come to that. But
yes.
The way our system is set up, and with we've got a lobbyists around every corner up there, and it's
George Washington stated it very well when he said we don't need political parties, that they would become interest groups and looking out for their own special interest, and that's exactly what's happened.
A lot of them had a lot of foresight and were intelligent people. But that's interesting, that we did, I think for the first time in a long time, and I guess because of our current political climate, we had this big interest in a Supreme Court
yes.
nomination like we have not had in a long time, because we've had folks, like you said. I think it comes to maybe some of the Supreme Court decisions of the early 70s especially.
Go back, yes.
Yeah.
Thurgood Marshall, you go back to some of those justices that were there in the 60s and 70s, and the civil rights movement was going
yes.
on, and the judicial decisions handed down because of civil rights legislation. That's great.
Yes.
It was great.
Yeah.
And but I look back at the 60s and 70s, and to me, that's what a Supreme Court should be doing, not what is evolved here in the 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
So,
And it has. It's been kind of an evolution.
Yes, it has.
It's been a shift of things not getting done in the legislative branch, and that shifting to the judicial branch to making laws.
Well, I mean, you have an executive order. All right, so we're going to determine whether that executive order is constitutional or not, or whether it can be enforced, because, and so therefore you have the judicial making laws. President Trump can enforce sanctuary cities. Something like that should be handled through the legislature, not through an executive decision, which boils down then to a judicial decision. So, it's I wish we could go back, turn the clock back to the good old days, I guess. But and then you had yesterday, Attorney General Andy Beshear announced his candidacy for governor of the state, and I'm sure there are going to be other Democrats come out. As far as I've heard of at least two others that might run, but that's going to be an interesting race as well.
Hey, it will be. Now, Governor Bevin, will he have any challengers on? I hope so. Yeah.
Bevin has done a lot for the state of Kentucky, and people talk about the pension reform, things like that. Well, I wasn't in favor of the proposals that he made, but the House of Representatives and the Senate was wise enough that they corrected what I consider mistakes that he made. But at least he has financed our schools, the budget there. But no, Bevin's, in my opinion, and it's not worth much, it won't get you a cup of coffee or anything, but Bevin's needs challengers this time.
Yeah.
He sure does. And again, it's going to be, I think the general election in November will be an indicator of what is to come in the governor's race. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You kind of watch what happens in November and kind of see which way. Do we see a blue wave these midterms? People talking about the blue wave, or do you just think it's status quo?
I think it's going to be status quo. I sure do. I don't see a lot. I still have former students like you that are out and gather information. A lot of them live out of state. Some of them live in state, but I try to pick their brains and what are you hearing, what's going on, and we get that information.
It's funny, but you instilled in a lot of us that were your students a love for this, a love of politics, a love of an interest. And you taught a government class at Collier County High School, and a lot of us kind of at the time sort of maybe did not appreciate some of the things we were learning. But after that, you look back and you gave us a little bit.
There is nothing that you can do in which the government doesn't have a say-so.
No, you're exactly right.
I don't care.
We love the government.
Oh yeah, I do.
That was
that was one of the
one of our sayings. We love the government.
Yeah.
But as you know, and it's interesting as and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we talk about a democracy and a republic is what I get to thinking about. I had Richard Nelson on Tuesday, and we talked about the difference between a democracy and a republic, and he mentioned Benjamin Franklin, when they first read the Declaration of Independence, and this lady asked him, "What have you given us?" And he said, "Republic, ma'am, if you can keep it."
Right, and that's true.
And it's just interesting because I think when you go to thinking about the types of governments that are out there, a republic is different from a democracy.
Right, oh gosh, my blood boils when I hear some of these people in elected positions talk about a democracy. We live in a democracy. Actually, we don't. I mean, we live in an indirect
This is a
democracy.
federal republic.
Yes, and we elect representatives to make decisions for us. Well, if you don't like it, you should vote them out, but it's got to the point now that common people can't really run. I mean, local and state we can, but
you get at certain levels, yes,
right.
Because, and it comes down to this, it comes
lobbyists.
down to the
I
lobbyists, and it comes down to the money that it takes to do it.
And they have more influence actually than you and I do on a lot of these.
And I certainly don't think that there was no way the founders could see any of this coming.
I don't think so.
But boy, I wish there was a way to eliminate some of that.
Yeah, and you might remember this. In class that I always said an uneducated vote is a dangerous thing for a person to possess.
No doubt.
And that has nothing to do with your academic education. It's just the mere fact that you don't get out and you don't learn about these candidates. You let someone else tell you what to think and how to vote, and that's become a major problem today. And people talk about voter turnout. Well, you know, I don't care whether you go vote or not, simply because I'm going to go vote, and if I'm going to go vote, I'm going to control who's in office.
Right.
Sometimes, I mean,
right.
You know,
right.
That's
at least you're going to have a say in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you got to have influence. That's the reason. You know, I talk to Dorsey, Robbie, Lynn, Abigail. I'll send them messages every other day or every week. And that way, regardless of who is elected, they know who I am, and I can say, hey, what's going on? What do we need to do? How's this Dorsey? Of course, Dorsey's a good friend of mine.
Right.
And
you and Dorsey go way back,
way
don't you?
back,
Yeah.
way back. And I talk to him every week about what's going on with the pension.
Right.
Because it doesn't affect me that much. I'll soon be, 70 years old, I think. But, you know, I've got a daughter and a daughter-in-law. And then I've got a lot of friends that are still in education.
Sure.
So this pension is a major issue for them. And I want to know what's going on.
Well, and I think you make a really great point is, you know, it's hard, you know, when you go in that voting booth to pull a lever or slide a sheet now, I guess, fill in a little bubble. But, you know, there's only so many opportunities if you don't know the person personally to try to figure out how they're going to think, right. You know. And that's really, you know, I think back in the old times you had more debate. You got to see these people more. You got to hear their opinions. Stump speaking. You got, you know, even when there wasn't any cable news, and let's just even go to our local candidates, even the local media. You know, I tried to have people on here to talk about. The newspaper did a fantastic job as well. But you have to figure out a way. That's what these political forums like you are having are so important. That you can at least get an idea of how these people are thinking because, as you said, an uninformed, you know, vote is dangerous.
You can see this person in person.
Yes.
You see the candidate in person. You can go talk to that person, and if they brush you off or say, well, I don't have an answer, or, you know, or if they say, I'll get back with you, I don't have an answer now, but I'll get back. It's impressive, one way or the other. So, to me, political forums are important.
Sure they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, fantastic. I can't thank you guys enough. This is the political forum involving our state senator and representative candidates. Will be August the 7th. That's a Tuesday night at 6:45, and that'll be in the circuit courtroom here down at the courthouse here in Princeton. And
if you got a question, send it to you.
Yeah, you can send it to us here. You send it to Brock, or get in touch with Roy Jean if you'd like those candidates to answer a question. But the main thing is show up and participate. You will have a chance, maybe not while the forum's going on, but you will have an audience with these candidates, you know, after or before to ask them a question, get to know them a little bit. And that's important because they're going, one of them, you know, in each category, they'll be going to Frankfort to represent you. So that's important.
Ty, appreciate it very much.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I look forward to talking again. We'll be talking as the summer progresses. We'll have big news concerning Black Patch Heritage Festival coming up, among other things. So thanks so much, and stay cool in the hayfield this week.
I'll try.
Okay. That's
Thank
Roy
you.
Gene Rogers, and that has been Tiger Talk on this Tuesday. We certainly appreciate Roy Gene Rogers stopping by, and, of course, giving us its opinions and ideas about things that are coming up here in our town. But do be looking out for the Black Patch information. If you would like to be have a booth down there, then we will have applications here, or get in touch with one of the Princeton Optimist Club members, myself included, Roy Gene, George Kilgore, and several other members that are out there. We want to get you fixed up for Black Patch as well. At 8:44, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Tiger Talk. Tomorrow, it is Wednesday. We'll have our extension program, and we certainly look forward to having you tomorrow on Tiger Talk at 8:44. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.